Okay, so this is part 4 of the box loom. So I'm going to show you a couple of tips and tricks before we tie this on to the other reel. So as you're weaving, remember we talked on the other part that you have 3 positions. You have an up, a neutral, where all your strings are lined up, and a down. That gives you a different shed. So you have an up shed where your slotted strings are in the up position. You have a neutral position where your strings are all together, all lined up nice and neat. And then you have a down position where your slotted strings are down on the bottom. So when you're weaving, the easiest way to do this on this box loom is to hold this in your non-dominant hand, which for me that's my left hand. And the way I've started this is from my right hand side. We're going to go into the up position. I'm going to go to the back of the loom, slide my heddle in, or my shuttle in, and then I'm going to go to the neutral position. When I'm in the neutral position, it will hold that shuttle locked in place, just like it holds the string. So I can go down and I can tamp that last row that I did. I can also switch hands and pull this out and go through. Now I can go down to my bottom position, slide that through, just like I did a minute ago. Go to my neutral position, switch hands, give it a tamp. Always pinch when you're pulling the strand, the shuttle strand, the weft. You always want to pinch as you're pulling so that it tightens up your edges. So we've already got a nice good length of woven tape, and it's probably, I don't know, 1.5 feet, not quite 2 feet. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to tie this on to that roller bar that we talked about on part 3. So I'm going to slide the tail end of this through the front slot. Make sure that your woven band, your woven tape is not twisted and it's not caught any of the strings up in it as you're going. I'll just put the shuttle over here out of the way. I'm going to turn this around so you can see it a little bit better. It's a little bit tricky on this because you're working underneath. So you need to make sure that you don't catch any of these strings that you're working on. Otherwise you're going to have to take this knot loose. So we're going to slide this underneath this roller. We're going to do exactly what we did on the back. We're going to split the tails in half. We're going to bring it up underneath and do a crisscross and do a surgical knot. Make sure you keep the tails and your working strands separate. Now if one of the tails is too short, like this one is too short to catch up in the knot, that's okay. You just want to make sure that you get the band secured so that you can roll it on to this bar and still be able to provide tension. Like I said, this part's a little tricky because you got to make sure you don't catch all those other strings in there. So we did our crisscross. Now we're going to go through our half knot twice. 1, 2. We're going to secure that down. Give it a little tug there. So your locking mechanism on this is a little bit different than the one on the back. And what we're going to do is we're just going to roll this band up a little bit onto here, and we're going to lock it down. Okay? So now we can go back to the front, and you'll see how much easier this is now that we've got our band tied on to that second bar. So we go to our up position, slide through, neutral, tamp, pull our strand through, down position, back through, neutral, tamp, up, through, neutral, tamp. Sometimes you have to get the tail in and give it a little tug over here just to make sure that your edges are nice and crisp. Down, neutral, tamp, back, up, neutral, tamp, back, down, neutral, tamp, back. And you are now weaving on a box loom. So we're going to pause right here, and then we're going to move on to a paddle loom. Okay, so we've got our paddle loom, and we're going to use the exact same pattern that we did on the box loom, and we're going to warp it the exact same way. So the way I do this is I lay the edge of the paddle loom over the edge of the table, and I've got my beginning spot marked, and I'm going to go through, grab that string, pull it up. Now if you have a hard time seeing, it's easy with paddle looms because you can just flip it over, pull it back, pull it through, and I'm going to walk over to my kitchen counter, same measurements as before, and cut that off. And I'm going to leave a nice long tail end hanging off the other side. So now I'm going to switch to my brown. This time, instead of doing purple, I decided to do brown. Same pattern, different colors. Lots of fun. So there's my brown. Walking over to my kitchen sink, drop that on the floor, and cut off a nice long tail. So I'm going to continue to do that so that it matches the pattern that we're using on the box loom. And we'll be back in a second once I get that warped up. Okay, so I've got the paddle loom all warped up. So as you can tell, I've found my middle position, found my starting position. I can take that off now. Everything on there just like we did with the box loom. I'm going to turn this over, and we're going to tie a knot. This is our front. So we don't have to tie a temporary knot on this one. It could be a permanent knot. And I'm going to trim those so that they're nice and even. Get rid of the scragglers. And we are ready to weave. Now, what I need to do is I need to gather up the rest of these warp strings. If you know how to crochet, you can do a chain like that. But for me, I'm just going to straighten them out as I go. Get all the way to the end. Back up a little bit because they got a little loop there. You want to get all these little loops out. Maybe a little bit straight. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap these ends around my hand. Not all the way up. Leave yourself a couple feet. Lay those sit there while I go get a clothespin for a moment. Use a rubber band. You can use a clothespin. Whatever you want to use. We're just going to gather those together so that they stay nice and neat. So, paddle looms are a little bit easier than box looms. They're much more portable. And all you need is 2 chairs to get started. So what I'm going to do, with this chair so you can see a little bit better, is I'm going to tie the end of this onto a chair. This takes the place of the roller bar on my box loom. It gives me a way to provide tension. So let's see if we can get this in scope. So that now when I sit on my other chair, I put this loom between my knees. I'm going to pull it. Now I can move my chair anywhere I want to. So I'm keeping it close right now because of the camera. But you're going to weave on it exactly the same way that you did with the box loom. You have an up position. You have a down position, and you have a neutral position. Okay, now if you hold the paddle loom more of in an upright position between your knees, it's hard to capture this on camera. It's easier to get the up and down position, but for purposes of demonstration, I'm just going to show you at an angle. You're weaving it the exact same way. When you need more string on the other end, untie the knot, give yourself some more string. When you have your tape woven on this end, you can take it, you can wrap it up, you can tuck it in your belt. If you want to have a little bit more tension, put a belt on, tuck it in there. There's different ways that you can capture this up. The easiest way is just weaving it and rolling it up and putting another clothespin on it. So it all depends on what your personal preference is. So this is a very easy and portable loom. So now, how do you transport it, right? So what I do, let's pretend I've got some woven tape on here. This just isn't a knot. What I do is I just wrap the string around like this when it's not being used. So I'm going to untie this knot real quick just to show you how I store it, because I'm not going to be doing any demonstrations on this. You already know how to weave by the box loom demonstration. So we're just going to untie this knot. From the chair. Wrap this around. And it is ready to go in your car, on vacation, put it in your suitcase. However you want to transport it, it is ready to go. So, you now know how to weave. If you want more instructions, come down to the Historical Society in Glenville, West Virginia, or contact us and we'll be glad to answer any of your questions. And if you want a loom like either one of these, contact Moss Scrollworks on Facebook and he will make you one as well. And thank you for watching our videos. Please comment. Let us know if you like them or not. We plan on doing some more and we'll see how these go. Thanks.